the House of Atreus. A name whispered with fear and pity, a lineage cursed by the gods. It began with Tantalus, a king favored by the Olympians. He dined with them, he knew their secrets. Yet, pride poisoned his heart. He dared to test their omniscience. Tantalus, in his arrogance, murdered his own son, Pelops. He served the boy's flesh to the gods, a grotesque feast to test their divine knowledge. The gods were not deceived, they were enraged. Tantalus's crime was an affront to the natural order. His punishment was eternal torment. He was cast into the underworld. There he suffered endless thirst and hunger. He stood in a pool of water, yet the water receded when he tried to drink. Lush fruits hung just beyond his grasp. Tantalus's torment echoed through generations, marking his descendants with a dark stain. The House of Atreus was cursed. Pelops, son of Tantalus, was restored to life by the gods. His father's sin, however, cast a long shadow. Pelops, driven by ambition, sought the hand of Hippodamia. She was the daughter of King Oenomaus, a king who guarded his daughter jealously. Oenomaus challenged each of Hippodamia's suitors to a chariot race. The prize Hippodamia's hand in marriage, the price of defeat death. Oenomaus, with a chariot gifted by Ares, was unbeatable. Pelops, desperate to win Hippodamia, made a pact with Myrtilus, Oenomaus's charioteer. Myrtilus, tempted by promises of power and Hippodamia's affections, betrayed his king. He replaced the bronze linchpins of Oenomaus's chariot with ones made of beeswax. The chariot, sabotaged, crashed during the race. Oenomaus was killed. Pelops had won Hippodamia, but at a terrible cost. He had embraced treachery and murder. In his triumph, he murdered Myrtilus, betraying the one who had helped him. This act solidified the curse upon his house. It was a cycle of betrayal and bloodshed. It would continue to plague his descendants. The curse of Tantalus deepened with Pelops' sons, Atreus and Thyestes. The brothers, bound by blood, became locked in a bitter feud. It was a conflict fueled by lust, power, and the insatiable thirst for revenge. Thyestes seduced Eripe, Atreus' wife. This act of betrayal cut deep. It ignited a firestorm of hatred between the brothers. Atreus, consumed by rage, plotted a gruesome revenge. He pretended to forgive Thyestes, inviting him back to his kingdom. But Atreus' heart was cold. He sought to punish Thyestes in the most horrific way imaginable. He murdered the sons of Thyestes. Atreus, driven by vengeance, prepared a ghastly feast. He took the bodies of his nephews. He cooked their flesh into a stew. He served this gruesome meal to their unsuspecting father. Thyestes, unaware of the horrific truth, consumed his own children. The gods, witnessing this act of unspeakable cruelty, were horrified. The sun itself is said to have turned away in disgust. Atreus, his revenge complete, had unleashed a new level of horror upon his family. His actions further fueled the curse of Tantalus. The House of Atreus was now synonymous with treachery and cannibalism. Its fate seemed sealed. Section 5. The Shadow of the Curse. Agamemnon's impossible choice. Agamemnon, son of Atreus, inherited not only his father's kingdom but also the curse that bound his lineage. He was chosen to lead the Greeks in the Trojan War, but the gods demanded a heavy price for their favor. Agamemnon was commanded to sacrifice his own daughter Iphigenia. Her death, a blood offering to appease the goddess Artemis, would grant the Greeks safe passage to Troy. Agamemnon, torn between his duty to his people and his love for his daughter, faced an impossible choice. Section 6. Bloodshed in the House of Atreus, the murder of Agamemnon. Agamemnon, bound by duty and driven by the curse that clung to him, made the agonizing decision to sacrifice Iphigenia. The Greek fleet set sail for Troy. Victory was theirs, but Agamemnon returned home a changed man. He was haunted by his actions. He was a king stained with the blood of his own child. He was unaware of the hatred that festered in his own house. Clytemnestra, his wife, had never forgiven him for Iphigenia's sacrifice. She had taken Aegisthus, Agamemnon's cousin, as her lover. They plotted revenge. Agamemnon, weary from war, was murdered in his own home. He was struck down by his wife, and her lover. The cycle of violence continued. The house of Atreus was bathed in blood once more. Section 7. Orestes. An instrument of fate, bound to avenge. Orestes, Agamemnon and Clytemnestra's son, was thrust into the heart of the curse. He was haunted by the murder of his father. He was commanded by the god Apollo to avenge Agamemnon's death. Orestes was torn between his duty to his father and his horror at the thought of matricide. The weight of the curse pressed down upon him. He knew what he had to do. Orestes, guided by Apollo and driven by the need for justice, returned to Mycenae. He confronted his mother. He killed both Clytemnestra and Aegisthus. Section 8. Justice or Vengeance. The Trial of Orestes. Orestes' act of vengeance did not bring him peace. He was pursued by the Furies, ancient goddesses of vengeance. They punished those who shed the blood of their kin. Orestes, driven mad by their relentless torment, sought refuge in the temple of Apollo. He was put on trial in Athens, judged by Athena herself. The Furies argued for vengeance. They demanded Orestes pay for his crime. Apollo, however, argued for justice. He argued that Orestes was merely an instrument of fate, fulfilling the will of the gods. Section 9. Finding Peace, the Curse Broken. Athena, in her wisdom, listened to both sides. She cast the deciding vote. She declared Orestes innocent. This act of mercy broke the cycle of vengeance that had plagued the house of Atreus for generations. The Furies, appeased by Athena's wisdom, were transformed into the Eumenides, protectors of the family and upholders of justice. Orestes, finally free from the curse, found peace. The legacy of Tantalus's sin was finally laid to rest. The house of Atreus, once synonymous with horror, found a measure of redemption.